you, and it is going to save in the cloud, and people will send it to you as links.
Yes,
Not
ma'am.
one.
Started the
Yeah,
recording.
now it is.
So yes, yes.
Ma'am, we have also captured aspects of ID.
Super. So now we have actually we are into the basics of ID understanding. I mean, we have entered into this concept of learning because it's all about learning, adult learning, and all that is what we're going to see in today's class. If I may not be able to make it more participatory like earlier class, the last class, please adjust because of the lack of the timing. So I'm trying to cover as much as possible today. So this domains of learning, there are three domains of learning basically. This adult learning theory, which I'm going to talk about also. See, this has been there 200 years ago. Okay, it's there till now, fully incorporated. We are using it in the mainstream, and this is helping us. I mean, us as trainers or instructional designers, in terms of the question like what factors impact this adult learning, why is it impacting? So that is what is important as part of exploring these three domains of learning, how to relate this with the adult learning theory. So you have this cognitive learning, affective learning, and psychomotor learning. Okay, these are the three domains of learning that we stick on to, and there are other pertaining to these three domains, we have a study also, which I'm going to take you forward in the next slides. Before that, what is this cognitive domain? Cognitive domain is about including the intellect, okay, the understanding of information, and how that develops through application on a scale that increases from the foundation level or the basic recall to a complete evaluation process and creating something else. So that is what this cognitive domain will focus on. Whereas this affective domain, this is going to involve our emotions towards learning, and how this develops as we go forward, as we progress from a lower order, from listening, maybe from listening to something, to a higher order. What is the higher order? In terms of resolving an issue, in terms of conflict resolution, whatever. Yeah. So this is all about emotions and feelings. And the other is the psychomotor domain. This is going to involve our physicality, how it develops from a basic motor skills through to bringing out your performance, intricating your performance. So how do these domains of learning impact professional development is the question. Each of these domains you see here, yeah, represent a continuum of process, which will actually begin with the most simple process, and it will go through the progress, get into more complex progress. That is what is this professional development impaction all about. When you design and develop some professional development events, okay, professional development programs, sessions, we have to keep in mind that the audience will be comprised of adults, and it is about adult learning. Most adults have mastered from lower order processes in each of these domains. I'm talking about all the three domains, okay, from recalling the information to cognitive domain, wherein they listen, they pay attention to your programs, and then they demonstrate some mechanical skill using a computer. It can be anything of that matter, okay, psychomotor domain. So in terms of successfully engaging the audience, your programs, your sessions will have to be designed to reach the participants in their level.
Recording.
Yeah? In their level. So this is all about going beyond the basic process, challenging them on a higher order process. Like, they can troubleshoot, they can prioritize, they can adapt anything. So based on these three domains, when there are few people, okay, who have attributed, they're psychologists basically, who have attributed to a taxonomy, a theory kind of a thing. So that is what we're going to talk about today. Quickly, this is Bloom's taxonomy. You all would have heard about this. Bloom's taxonomy towards this first domain, the cognitive domain. So this is the classification of different objectives, different skills, yeah, that we trainers or instructional designers set for the audience, for the learners, basically. In simple terms, the learning outcomes. So what is this Bloom's taxonomy? This is again way back in 1950s. This was proposed, and there are 6 levels in this. This can be used to structure your learning outcomes, your lessons, your assessments of whatever course you're going forward. Okay, now let me start from the base one, remembering. Okay, so remembering, it's all about retrieving, recognizing, yeah, recalling relevant knowledge from long-term memory. So your course, when you structure it, you'll have to develop based on these points. That's what Bloom's taxonomy says. Okay, so remembrance. Second point is understanding. So if I have to connect this understanding with a few words, what I would say is, whether you construct the meaning, whatever the course that you offer, okay, you construct the meaning of your topics or whatever, whether oral or, in terms of written or graphical messages, in whatever way you want, but you want to interpret, you want your audience to exemplify, you want them to summarize, classify, compare with other things. So if you want your audience to do all of this, you have to focus on this particular step called understanding. Okay. And the next is applying. Remembering, understanding, then applying, carrying out or using a procedure, however you do it, in terms of implementing it, in terms of executing it. This is important, right? That is why we are all, imparting the training program, because people will apply to their own work, their own, goals, whatever. Then it's about analyzing. How do you analyze? How do you make it this particular step possible? We can break the material into constituent parts, determining how the parts relate to one another and to overall structure or overall goal or the purpose, in terms of differentiating, organizing it, attributing it. So you're trying to draw connections among ideas here. That is what this analyzing phase depicts basically. So you don't have to get confused on all of these levels. Try understanding with the names that is given. We all know what is remembering, understanding, applying, trying to analyze, evaluating. What is the difference between applying and evaluating? Applying is all about execution. And after execution comes your analysis part. You try to, make a lot of what you call differentiation in the minds of the audience. Then evaluating is all about making judgments based on the criteria based on the standards, whatever, by critiquing something. If a person is trying to critique, check with the actual, trying to appraise on something, then the person is on this evaluation mode. Please stay muted. And the last step is about creating, putting all the elements together to form a wholesome, a coherent wholesome, or functional wholesome. Reorganizing the elements into a new pattern of execution for yourself, new structure, wherein you generate something, you plan something, you produce something. Okay, so that is what we are attempting at in terms of this cognitive. The intellect part works through all of these phases. So how can this taxonomy aid in course designing? Yeah, that is what we have to think from the instructional designer point of view. This is a powerful tool that helps you develop learning outcomes because it explains the process of learning. What does it mean? Before you can understand a concept, you have to remember it. To apply a concept, you have to first understand it, right? In order to evaluate a process, you must have analyzed it. And when you have to create an accurate conclusion, you must have completed a thorough evaluation. That is what this taxonomy says. Okay. We don't always have to start with the lower order skills at all and step all the way through the entire taxonomy for each concept you present in your course. It is not required. Okay. Based on the course and based on what is the level of the learners, you can actually design the course accordingly. Okay. Yes, Mr. Jugal.
Dr. Ravi, would be great, like if you can just pick up one of the example in terms of a new hire or maybe from the TNI perspective. So I think in both the aspects, how we can utilize these taxonomies or maybe these phases or the levels, that would be great.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to understand, trying to give you. Okay. So, for example, in terms of the learning outcomes, what is the course level outcome? The first, let us take this apply. Okay. Apply part. How will you, demonstrate? For example, there is one supply chain example. Okay. We all are into supply chain. We know what is a supply chain basically. Okay. So if I have to utilize this apply as a point in terms of my learning outcome for a supply chain kind of an audience who are into supply chain and for whom you are giving a training program.
Ma'am, your voice is breaking. I'm not sure if it's with me or with everyone.
Is it so?
No,
No, we are not facing any such problem.
It's clear. It's clear.
no, ma'am, it's
Okay. It's okay.
Okay, thank you. So demonstrating a special nature of transportation demand in the city and the influence of transportation on companies, corporates, and their supply chains, which are operating in a global economy today. So this is what we are trying to impart as a training program for this audience. So there is a difference between understanding and applying to this context, what I say. In the understanding part, I'm skipping this, remember, because it's a very simple thing. So when it comes to understanding phase, I will make the audience discuss the changing global landscape which is there in today's businesses and what other organizations are following that is driving a change in the global environment. This is in the understanding phase. Whereas if I want to make them apply, okay, because I jumped into this apply phase because this application execution phase is something important and that is where we have to focus more on. So here in this apply phase, they use the information in a new situation once they understood. So now what they will do is they demonstrate. Did you see the difference between the words I used? For understand, it's discussion. Whereas for applying, demonstration. These are the key words that you have to remember when you design a learning outcome or a learning objective, whatever you do it as part of your course. So demonstrate a special kind of a transportation, a special natured transportation demand, okay, and how these transportation elements will influence today's corporates and the supply chains which are operating in a global economy. So your Ola or your Uber or your Swiggy or Zomato, whatever, when you try to imparting a training program for these kind of audience, I'm not talking about the soft skills at all. I am talking about the supply chain, the a little technical training I am talking about. So how will they apply? So this is the way we have to impart, impart the skills that is required in terms of the knowledge, so that Bloom's taxonomy is utilized for our learning course. So this is one example. Now quickly I am moving on to affective domain. As part of affective domain, Krathwell, so another psychologist who brought this Krathwell's affective domain taxonomy. Again, this is also a best known taxonomy, which is according to the principles of internalization. I'll tell you what about internalization. Before that, yes, Mr. Satyam.
Ma'am, in the previous slide, can you please explain the difference between evaluate and analyze?
I was actually explaining the time. Can you go to the last?
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Hope you don't mind.
No, no.
So internalization. Internalization is about the process whereby a person's affect. This is about the affective domain. Affect towards an object, towards an object will pass from a general awareness to a point where he or she is getting internalized. I will talk about this, then slowly you'll be able to understand this. The lower order here is the reception, the receiving of that, that affect, the general awareness, however you call that, okay? This is about being aware of something or being sensitive to the existence of certain ideas, certain materials, certain phenomena, willing to tolerate them. Say, for example, we are giving a behavioral skill training program to a set of audience. Okay. Anyone mention one behavior that you would like to mention to impart the audience?
Communication skills.
What is that?
Communication skills.
Communication skills. Okay. Okay. So for communication skills, okay, this is a very common skill that we, impart for many audience group, many different, diverse groups basically. So what is the reception part here? I'm trying to give an example because you wanted some examples here. I'm going from the lower order itself. So what is being aware of? What is being sensitive here? What is the audience trying to understand with the ideas or the materials here? Any idea? In the receiving state.
Maybe that communication does not have any language barrier. It's important to communicate your thoughts in a better way, and language shouldn't be a barrier.
Okay. So it is about being aware where I stand, point number one. Point number two, being sensitive to the existence of people who have good communication skills, who are having different strategies and different ideas in terms of how you put forth your your words orally and verbally and non-verbally, whatever. Okay, so this phase is about being aware of it, including it. I mean, the keywords here that we can use is including. Okay, differentiating, accepting, listening, to respond. Because you're aware of your communication skill, your lack of communication skill, you're trying to respond to it, right? So this is the first stage. Responding. Responding means it is about committing in some small measure to some ideas, materials, or phenomena. These are the keywords that Krathwell's taxonomy says. By actively responding to them. You are trying to comply with something. You're trying to follow. You're trying to comment here. You're trying to volunteer to spend your time, or you're trying to acclaim it. So now in the communication skills program, what is your responding phase? What could it be?
Asking questions.
Asking questions, okay?
Providing reaction.
Sorry?
Providing reaction to that, maybe the
Adding
feeling.
reactions,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. Right. What
Ma'am,
else?
probably try to grasp the learnings. As you mentioned, just because I am not aware about the communication skill,
Mm.
so I try to grasp that skill, something like kind of.
Okay, so this is somewhere
Real-time
a
problem
thin
solving.
line between awareness and I mean grasping. The person is already grasped, and the person is trying to follow. The person is trying to volunteer into something, and he or she is complying with it. Okay, so I comply myself to a better communication for my own work, for my own personal agenda, for my own professional agenda. So I'm responding it. I am committing myself in a small measure. So that is what is the response stage. Valuing. Valuing is all about willing to be perceived by others. Willing to be perceived by others as valued, as valuing. Now tell me what could be this communication skills stage for value would be.
So you mentioned to be perceived by others, right? So if I'm trying to communicate some kind of a information or a knowledge or a data point, and if the person is able to understand what I'm trying to share with them, that would be valuing.
Exactly. So wherein you're trying to increase your proficiency. Am I right?
Yeah. So maybe a good communicator, that's what we should perceive.
Yes. So to relinquish something, to
Or with example, we can
substance.
explain something. With an
Yes,
example, we
Vishnu?
can explain. With an example, we can explain.
No, I can't
That's
get you.
how it means that's how the receiver will get a valuing of it. If
Acha,
we
you
are
mean to say like with examples you can, okay. Through actions, how you
exactly
do it, the other person is valuing it. So which means
exactly
you
related to
are
their
trying to
related
relinquish something.
right related to their day-to-day activity or day-to-day work life. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Super. So the next stage is about organizing. What does this organizing mean? This is about relating the value that is already there, and you're trying to bring it into a very harmonious and a consistent philosophy. Very important stage. Okay? Already you have this value. You have already valued something. You're trying to now relate with, which is already there, and you're trying to making it a practice, a pattern, a harmony, wherein you're trying to also make it a consistent philosophy. So now tell me what could be the examples for the same communication training.
So if I'm a good communicator, I would be in a position to manage the objections handling more
Very good.
effectively. I would be in a position to provide rebuttals to those things.
Exactly. Exactly. So trying to theorize, trying to formulate something, trying to examine something. So these are the keywords. And finally, I'm trying to create a value. Yeah, which is very, very important. Characterization by setting a value, by being of a value. This is to act consistently. Again, I'm using this word consistently in accordance with the values that he or she has internalized. If you remember, I used this word when I started this taxonomy. Internalization. Okay. So now what could be this phase for your communication training program? Internalization.
So if he would be in a position to, I think, influence others as well.
That's it. You leader it, you master
That's how
it.
he will be in a position to internalize knowledge and the skills which he has acquired.
Absolutely. The person is rated high in that value. The person
I
is
think
trying to
one
preserve.
question over here, Dr. Raghavi, like receiving and responding, can we connect this particular part with the WIFM? Because here,
Connecting these two into?
WIFM, so what's in it for me? Because I think when I'm at the receiving end, until and unless I'm not analyzing that what is in it for me, I would not be in a position to respond.
Correct.
So that WIFM part will come under the receiving section, correct?
Correct.
And
Both
then the
these sometimes interconnect. Yes, yes.
correct. And then the engagement will come under the responding.
Exactly.
If he's engaged enough, then only he will be in a position to respond back.
You're right. You're right. Beautiful. So this is about Krathwohl's taxonomy. Because Mr. Jugal wanted me for examples, I started with example from the beginning itself, from the lower order skill itself. I'm trying to rush. Maybe you may seem to see me to kind of rushing just because to cover the portions assigned today, or not to make you feel like this topic is like Greek and Latin to me. This is something that I wanted to be very particular. So I'm trying to cover all of these for you. That's it. Yes,
Yes. So, Raghavi, I just wanted to understand, like in cognitive domain, you said that we may not target all levels of training for every program, right? Is it true for affective domain as well, or?
Good question. Good question. Effective, as like Mr. Jugal said now. Somewhere receiving, responding, maybe people are already aware of it. People are already taking some efforts. Maybe the third phase they're not good enough in terms of they're upskilling themselves. Maybe when it comes to group, you cannot skip. But when it's individually, someone is working for themselves, they can actually get into the stage where they are. So that way, I can tell you, it is all about whom you handle. That's what I mentioned at the beginning. It's about what course you're offering, who are your learners, matters. Okay. So quickly, I am moving on to the next psychomotor domain, which is about Dave's psychomotor domain. So this is what Dave says, RH Dave. Okay, this domain lists some physical behavior. Okay, physical behavior descriptions for each stage. Wherein we can, I will help you to have some keywords, verbs that will describe each stage for you. Okay. The first is imitation. Can you see that? The first stage is imitation. Okay. I'll help you with the first stage. Okay. This stage is about copying some action of another person, a behavioral description. Okay. So when the audience look at the trainer and repeat the action, repeat the process, repeat the activity, then this is the example for imitation, a reflex movement, copying or following or replicating. I'm trying to help you with keywords so that you can understand this. Something, what do you say, imitating, mimicking something. All of these will be examples for your imitation. So this is about
Ma'am, I would request Sandeep Kumar to please be on mute because continuously the noise is coming from his end. If you can. The host would have that right to,
Yes,
thank
yes.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So this is about this imitation step. The next is manipulation. Now you're going to tell me. Manipulation is, sometimes this will be, in a negative note also, this word manipulation itself. But here, let us understand. Reproducing, an activity from the instructions is what manipulation here is. Okay? You're trying to reproduce an activity from whatever instructions that's being fed to the brain, to yourself, whatever. So now, what can be the example for manipulation?
So here, Dr. Raghavi, are we talking about only the physical actions or the learnings also that we have acquired, Samit?
As I mentioned here,
Ma'am, manipulation means maybe I am taking a scenario, a sales executive welcoming a customer. Okay, there is a senior executive. We have a way of welcoming customer, and a junior imitating them first and creating a flexible one for which one is suitable for him. This is called a manipulation.
okay, got it. I'll also add some more point to this. Before that, Mr. Jugal, I'm going back to the slide wherein this psychomotor, domain is about physicality. As I told you, how you develop from your motor skills to prove it, to perform it. So here at this stage, what you're trying to do here is you're performing. You are putting it forth, which needs some physicality. So what kind of physicality you're imitating? Again, this is all learning only. It is not about, you're taking some dumbbells and, you're making yourself physic. Doesn't mean that. Yeah.
No.
It's all
So
about.
probably, let's say if one of the, let's say a new entrant, like who has never ever used a computer system, now he is using a mouse. Now, when he looked into one of the another peer who is actually working with the keyboard,
Exactly.
so he is trying to imitate that particular action.
Correct.
Now, what he is trying to manipulate, so rather like using the mouse or a right click or a left click, he's trying to understanding those short keys and applying it. So that is how he's trying to manipulate his own action.
Exactly. Here, I'll add one more point here. Manipulation, that's what the other person also was mentioning. Here, it is also about the handbook that you give it to them. Okay, they will quickly follow the instructions they have. Okay, so Control C is copy and Control V is paste. Control X is, cut. So automatically, this brain is trying to manipulate it. Very simple.
Correct.
Carrying out the task from any kind of written or oral communications. That is what I meant here.
Got it.
Clear? Okay. So now, it is, I mean, if I can give you some keywords here, making him recreate something, making him build something on his own, executing it, again, implementing it, all of these keywords will come. Okay, now, precision, very important point. Precision, it is about executing the skill that is learned reliably, in a very reliable manner, and more importantly, without any help, independently doing something. That is what is precision here. So I am giving a description of each of this, so that now you can give me examples as to what can come as part of this particular step. So what is the example for precision? With the same example that you said, for a person with zero knowledge in computers. So how are you making him tech savvy or computer savvy is what we are trying at. Okay, so what could this precision do for him?
So if he's able to maybe, I think, create the documents, or maybe I think not only with the help of that Control C or a Control V kind of a command, if he's able to copy the entire doc, making the amendments into it without having any errors and asking to anyone.
Yes, without assistance. That's what it means. Okay, performing a task or an activity with expertise, with some high quality, without assistance, without instructions, he is able to memorize that. Yes, F5 is to slideshow wherein his brain doesn't entangle between F4 and F5 and F6. So that's what it means literally. Okay, so he's able to demonstrate an activity to other learners also, to other people also. So demonstration, completion, being perfect, calibrating something, all of these are keywords. Okay, so now let's quickly move on to the next thing, articulation. Articulation is about adaptation. Adapting and integrating an expertise to satisfy a non-standard objective. So now, anyone would like to try for the same example?
When you become expert with one thing and then you learn something else and then you keep applying and it becomes your habit. I mean, it goes so smoothly that things
Exactly.
follow by itself. You become a multiple tasker.
Correct. Example. Exactly. You become an expertise in that. Any other perspective for this?
So precision would be, making a document or two correctly. But then articulation or a skilled person would be who is known for it, who becomes an expert in his office for such a thing.
Beautiful. Right. So relating, combining, associating activities so that the learner develops his or her own methods to meet the requirements, that encounter him or her. So that is what this articulation means. And this is all about integrating, adapting, modifying something, mastering something, improvising, teaching, however you want as keywords for constructing something, solving something, combining something. So this is what is articulation. And the last part is about naturalization. Naturalization, you're automizing it. Unconscious mastery. Have you heard this word? Unconscious mastery.
Yes.
Of any activity and related skills at a strategic level. That is what is naturalization. Very important. So now this person becomes a tech savvy. And when you wake him up from the sleep also, he will say, a plus b the whole square is equal to a square plus 2ab plus b square. Yeah. So, defining some aim to it, approach, or any strategy to use the activities to meet at the strategic level. So that is what it's
we can take the example of driving. Like when you
Ma'am,
learn driving, you are doing it consciously. But once you become a skilled driver, you need not to, consciously do the things. Automatically, it happens.
automatically this gear, when your hand goes into
Yeah.
the
Yes.
gearbox, it will follow the brain's
Yes.
instructions. That's what it is. Yes.
ma'am, a born identity comes to mind.
Sorry, please come again.
Ma'am, Born Identity.
Born identity. Okay, okay.
That movie Born Identity comes to mind.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's naturalization, I think.
Absolutely. Right. Thanks for reminding that for me. Right. So now we will quickly move on to something called adult learning. So I'll take some parts of this and then we will wind up. So I'll give you a gist of what is this. Okay. I wanted to ask questions on what is adult learning to you, so that I make this again a participative session, but we just have very less time. I'll quickly go and give you an idea. This is we all know this. Okay, we're all already doing this, but this is the act of pursuing one's own education as an adult. That's what we are doing in any formal setting. It can be education, it can be a higher school, it can be in a training program, as an apprenticeship, whatever. This also refers to to any adult who is simply wanting to learn a new skill, learn a new topic independently. So, adult learning, somewhere this is being connected to neuroplasticity. Have you heard of this word, neuroplasticity?
Yes.
No, ma'am, I am not.
It's rewiring the brain.
Ah.
You're learning something wherein for the first time it might be difficult, but when you keep on doing it, the neuro wires connect to each other and then it becomes the natural way for you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Any other answer to this neuroplasticity?
No, ma'am, this is very new for me.
Okay, super. I will help you.
Ma'am, okay, I like to add, neuroplasticity is like creating a muscle memory. So every time when we are learning something, and repeatedly if we keep learning that, we are creating a muscle memory. And the moment that muscle memory gets created, then it becomes effortless.
Absolutely right. So adult brains are different from children's brain. Okay, that's why we're talking about adult learning here. It follows its own learning styles and it will differ. But how are these brains different is what matters. It is all about wiring. As Alka said, it is all about wiring. Neuroplasticity is used as a term, for many fields actually. Brain's ability to develop new pathways. That is what we call as wiring here. To develop new pathways while learning. So this is giving us an attention to something called learning capability of a person. Okay, learning capability of a person. That's what we're trying to emphasis here. That improved neuroplasticity can be cultivated in adults, yeah, by way of, I will give you a term, it's a very important thing which many coaches here are following in the metropolitan cities today, which is a growth mindset. Heard of this word? Growth mindset.
Yes.
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 This is the
Yes.
belief that you can get smarter, that you can get better at things while you keep on practicing. So this is what is this adult learning talking about. Okay. Okay, so now quickly moving on to it's 147. So adult learning principles. Adult learners who are committed to going back to this learning phase will often get benefited from a curriculum. We'll call it as a curriculum, a principle, which is a 7 key principle basically. Okay. What are these? Let me start from self-direction here. Self-direction is about learning at your own pace and at your own way. Yes, Dr. Deepthi.
Ma'am, this is just out of this. Will you be sharing the slides, because the pictures and the diagrams that is shown on the slides are not there in the book?
I will. Last
That's
class
like
I have not sent because that is where we are starting off the session. So I will be sending it all together from the beginning till today's class. I will be sending.
Sure. Thank you so
So
much.
self-direction is all about learning at your own pace, at your own way. You know what you need to learn. You can set your goals. You can track down your materials. Yeah, you can create a plan to foster your own learning. You can self-evaluate also. So this is the mode of self-learning. Next is about transformation. Transformation, learning can change your perspective on the society, on the world, and it is also vice versa. Okay, whether from a teacher, a mentor, or some other channel, new information can shift a person's worldview, correct? And challenge the preconceived notions we have in our brain. And when you shift the learner's outlook, the information becomes a retained one. That is what we're talking about in the transformation. Please don't mind that I'm rushing. The next stage is experiential. It is all self-explanatory, but then I'm giving you some examples to it also. Experiential. What is this going to do? This is going to focus on developing the life experience, hands-on learning. Yeah, when you participate physically in the learning environment, when you get your hands dirty, and then reflecting on what worked for you and what did not work for you. That is the experiential principle. The next is mentorship. Learning from an outside mentor. We all know this. From any established field, from any established figure. Okay? So mentors and mentees, they learn from each other. We all know that. Mentees ask challenging questions. Mentors challenge the proteges, understanding of the material and all of this. This is mentorship. The next is orientation. Orientation to learning. Adults will have to reframe their emotions, reframe their assumptions, around the experience, around the value of learning, which is very, very important. And we instruct our learners on how to apply the new lessons learned to the real world, I mean, into reality. That will help to retain the information. Next is motivation. Motivation. Children are motivated by parents, correct? When you give a chocolate to a child, yeah, yes, I'll have to make it. This is what a child's thought process is. But when it comes to adult, what will trigger motivation for an adult? Any idea?
Career growth or something like that.
Okay.
Awards and rewards,
Okay.
Are in rewards and recognition.
incentives,
Recognitions.
Appreciation.
Growth.
When the
Esteem,
learning objectives
respect.
are connecting to the personal and professional growth, can
Yes.
motivate the adult learners.
Social status.
Fulfilling their goals, set goals.
Perfect.
Achieving a certain position or milestone in the corporate or the organization.
Absolutely. Some may say, ma'am, salary is my motivation. Every month, 31st, I'll be highly motivated. Yeah?
Agreed.
So, motivation can vary from an adult to adult. So, a career growth or your better designation, a better salary, whatever. These are internal motivation for us. And readiness to learn is another principle. Okay? Readiness to learn. Adults have already been through the development. It is not something new, like unlike a child, like, you know, we newly impart something. The readiness to learn is something imparted for a child, whereas for an adult, it is already there. The development has already been. And now the person has to rely, yeah, unlike a child, as I say, the person has to rely on the past experience or life changes to developed or a renewed resource or a readiness towards, you know, life changes. I can say that way. So when you renew your readiness to learn as an adult by way of a situational trigger, how many of you have heard this word? Situational trigger. Because this is triggering me, so I'm trying to, you know, renew myself for this. So you lose your job or you want to switch your career. Yeah, just an example. Your next promotion will hinge you on you know, mastering a skill for yourself. Yes, that is readiness to learn. Okay, so based on these principles, yeah, you know, this adult learning works. And I'm going to quickly oh my god. Okay, now I'll ask this question and we will keep the forum open. What motivates adults to learn? Now you tell me, after going through all of these principles, what motivates adults to learn? Tell me.
Career
One thing would
aspiration.
be
I think
Problems.
We need to make them realize the need assessment that has been done and how that will develop their career.
Okay.
so I think if I'm able to understand how I can utilize the given learning at a personal or professional front, then only it will motivate me. If you're
Okay.
just putting me for a compliance training and I don't see any output of it in my personal or professional life, I would not be interested or motivated to attend that training.
Perfect.
If they see a gap between the expected place where they want to be in their career and where they are currently, if they see a gap, they would want to learn.
Perfect.
Or for the recognition.
if they are facing any problem, there is a solution only is learning. It will be definitely self-motivated.
Okay, done. Thank
So
you.
I have this very beautiful example that happened in my workplace.
Yes, please.
I launched the training with the upper management understanding the need, and it was like emotional intelligence. They told me do it for the entire organization. I said, okay, fine. Leaders to rock bottom. Everyone, once I announced it and I set the calendar, everyone was like, emotional intelligence, हमें emotions बाहर निकालोगे, रुलाओगे, मतलब walk into the room and then experience. I created that curiosity.
Okay.
And my workplace people are so lazy that they did not even bother to go and Google it. So when they entered the room, it was full of curiosity. And once they understood the topic in the first half an hour context setting, they were like, when is the level 2 training? So, I mean, not fits everywhere, but yeah, it worked here.
Amazing, Dr. Deepthi. That is what I was about to talk. Okay. What motivates an adult to learn? Curiosity or a simple need to know kind of a thing. Yeah, many researchers have come up with many answers to this question over the years. The truth is that adults are complex individuals with so much of entangled wires. So, no one size fits all answer. Correct? There are adult learning theories, which is explaining how to define, how to connect a learning need to its most appropriate solution in adult learning, basically. Okay. So this is what is this adult learning, and this is what I will be focusing on from the next class. So now, till this, we will wind up, and I will send the PPT till this slide.
Ma'am,
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Queries that are there in the book, are we going to discuss all those queries which are there in this?
Almost, yes. If time permits, I will discuss each and every theory. I would love to. In case if we have faced this kind of lack of time, I may have to skip. But then my PPT will have all the slides, all the theories slides.
Ma'am, may I suggest something?
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, please share the PPT at the earliest.
By today. By today.
Oh,
Ma'am,
thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
May I suggest
Thank you, ma'am.
something?
Thank you,
Yes,
ma'am.
please.
In case if there is no time fitting in, what you can do, you can ask us to do the reading part of those theories from the book, and we can have a question and answer round for each theory.
Definitely. I would love to.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Raghavi.
Thank you, ma'am.
Everyone.